I'm Terry Shepard. Being a confident podcast guest is a skill that can be learned. And that's why I wrote How to Become a Dynamic Podcast Guest and Sell Stuff. It's a sweet and short primer that teaches you about the gear, the appearance, and the messaging that can grab and hold today's micro attention spans and motivate your listeners to take action. How to Become a Dynamic Podcast Guest and Sell Stuff. The digital version is just $1.99 at Amazon. Grab your copy today and sell more books tomorrow.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard, award-winning broadcaster, narrator, and author. A deep dive into the writer's craft with the artists and support systems who create the stories we love.
For much of her life, Lena Fein was a master of survival disguised as success. She earned straight A's and became a UC Berkeley-trained engineer, rose to the executive ranks of the high-tech world, and moved through marriage, motherhood, and achievement with the practiced grace of someone who had learned never to stop long enough to feel the pain beneath the polish. But behind the accomplishments was a child raised in madness under the shadow of a violent and controlling mother in a house where cleanliness was worshipped, porcelain dolls were treasured, and Lena's own spirit was forced into hiding. So she did what many wounded children do. She disappeared inside herself. She became brilliant. She became useful. She became unstoppable. And for years, the world mistook her armor for ambition. Then at 51, standing at the bedside of her dying mother, Lena looked into the eyes of the woman who had shaped her fear, and something inside of her finally broke free. Shattering the Mirror, her new book, is a redemptive memoir of reckoning, release, of trauma confronted, forgiveness wrestled with, and wholeness reclaimed piece by piece. It is a testament to the truth that healing does not arrive on anyone else's timetable. It can be found in midlife. It can find us after decades of silence. It can find us when we are finally brave enough to turn the wound toward us and call it by its name. Lena Fein, I am honored to have you with me today. Thanks for the conversation.
Well, thank you for that amazing introduction. Like, best ever. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being seen in this format, and I'm looking forward to speaking out there, saying my words.
I found your book absolutely riveting, Lena. The title, Shattering the Mirror. Tell us about that.
It's such a metaphor. And Shattering the Mirror is, I remember my dad, I had 3 sisters, 4 little girls in 5 years. And my dad would take us in San Francisco. It's since closed to what's called the Fun House. And they had distorted mirrors. When you walked in, it's, ooh, you could be the fat lady, the skinny lady. It was distorted. And my sisters and I, before we even got to the rides, would stand by those distorted mirrors. So that's one of the metaphors. Sometimes mirrors can be distorted and you look fat. Sometimes you look skinny and sometimes you look crazy. So that is a metaphor for sometimes when you look through a mirror, it's not clear. And the other metaphor was one of the early scenes in my book. I was 2.5, and how this day was different from any other day. I was playing with my sister who was 3.5, and I always did whatever she wanted before this day. But on this day, she wanted my block and I wasn't going to give it to her. And so I held on to it so fat, so tight. And she was so angry that all of a sudden she yanked me to standing and pretty much with all her might threw me like a football towards the window. And I still remember the visceral feeling of terror, of flying, of falling. And at the very last second, I saw drapes and I grabbed. No memory, blacked out. And then I was sitting and I remember my mother coming at me with a towel. I still see the embroidery. And she said, I want you to hold this against your face and don't let go of the towel. And in my head, I was, don't let go of the towel. Don't let go of the towel. Don't let go of the towel. Just hyper vigilant as she puts me in the car, Big sister gets in the car. She starts driving off, slams on the brake, realizing she forgot her baby, the third girl at home. So you could imagine no 911, no cell phones, whatever. The next thing I remember, a bright light and a doctor. I didn't know it was a doctor with a funny hat. And I remember his face. He introduced himself, and it was like the first time someone looked at me. And then obviously I went under, and I did not know that my nose was severed. My mom, after I was out of surgery, said, don't touch your Band-Aid. Your nose was reattached. And I was like, what? So I had this traumatic event that involved a window. I shattered an untempered glass window, and thank God I grabbed onto those drapes. So that impacted me because it was like, if somebody wants something, you better give it to them. So I developed this habit of, I'll give it to you first before you kill me. And then also just the fear of falling, which is such a metaphor. So protection, yes, there was abuse in my home, but there was also this primal thing of, it's not safe here. You might fall, you might die. It's scary. So that was part of the mirror, another type of mirror, but it also, I used my head and I was really good at thinking, but actually falling into love, falling into those emotions that might be scary, that Shattering the Mirror. When I thought of that title, like 10 years before I even published, I was shocked that no one had taken shatteringthemirror.com. So I registered it. And that stayed the title of my book. And I really think it's a good title for my evolution.
We are born into a world and assume that's the way of the world. When were you first aware that what was happening to you was abuse?
So the gift that I had is I had a photographic memory. Down to my earliest memory was when my third sister was born. She's 18 months younger than me, so I must have been 18 months old. And I remember that day. I remember my mom always used to get me out of the crib. And on this day, it was a stranger. The stranger ended up, and I started crying. I was terrified. And it was actually my grandmother. So I have a memory of my grandmother. She bought me a new dress. She said, I'm here because your mom's having a baby, and you're going to be in a new dress, and you're going to the hospital, and we're going to see the new baby. I remember that day. And I remember those feelings of excitement as a little girl, really little. It was like, oh, I'm so happy. Everything seemed okay. It wasn't until maybe I was a little like in kindergarten or first grade, that childhood innocence where I saw everything as funny or unique. The real triggering event was me writing about my first crush in first or second grade. And I still remember his name and his corduroy pants. And I got my first diary. That's days when you could walk to the store with your quarters. And I hid it under my mattress, like, I don't know, Leave It to Beaver. Someone did on a TV show. And I was so proud of what I wrote. And I knew it was so secret and special. And the next day when I came home on the bus from school, my mom was like, how dare you write such things? Just wait till your father comes home. And when he came home and my sisters were standing around, she read my diary out loud, what I had written. And I felt such shame and so much hopelessness. That's when I gave up. Like, it's not safe to be, I couldn't have named it then, to be in my heart. It was like this, I still remember the feeling of sadness and giving up. And what I was really doing was giving up my heart. And like from that day forward, I wrote really good essays in school and did really good in math. But I don't know if I ever wrote a personal story.
Talking with Lena Fein about Shattering the Mirror. The website is shatteringthemirror.com. Many kids would have reacted by just shutting down and retreating into things that numb their lives, not things that enrich their lives. What drove you to achieve instead?
I love the feeling of getting an A. I love the feeling of knowing all the words. I was teased for my curly hair because at the time, curly hair wasn't in. I was teased for my uncoordination. Apparently that window accident, I didn't know it there, was also a head injury. And I was only in the 9th percentile for eye hand coordination. So I never got picked for dance, for sports. So I had this persona of, oh, there's something wrong with me. My mom says I'm ugly because of my hair, or I'm a klutz because of the way I move. So I emphasized my brain. That was my refuge, was to be smart and get A's at least. Oh, I'll get A's and I'll get accolades for that. But obviously I was bypassing. I didn't know I was doing it. Then my mom was relentlessly abusive, physically and emotionally, with her words and pulling hair, that I shut down even more and had anger locked in there. It wasn't safe to be angry in her house. It was okay for my mother to be angry. So I felt like I was living in a crazy house, and darn it, I'm going to get those A's because it makes things not so crazy. And I did it for years. Got a master's in engineering, got a good job, did really well until that moment of my mom. When I was 51, she was 76. She was diagnosed with lung cancer. And within a week and a half of that diagnosis, she was dead. But in her last 2 days, she was intubated. But her eyes, I feel like I saw something in her eyes that I had never seen before. They were almost glowing. She couldn't talk, but with her eyes, her spirit, I felt she was making an amends on her deathbed and I had this feeling of forgiveness. And that started me on the journey of realizing, what is that thing that I'm feeling? That's the sensation of being in my heart. So it didn't happen overnight, but it was the opening that led me to leaving my job as an engineer, starting to reclaim my dance, starting to reclaim my voice. I couldn't sing. Oh my gosh, I can sing if I just stay in the moment and follow the vibrations to reclaim my true voice, to say how I felt. It was a journey. And I arrived. I'm 68. It's not too late. I'm so good with my grandkids. All my relationships have gotten better. I feel like I walk in the world as a blessing, not as a curse, no matter what's happening around me. Just in the moment, how can I bless this moment? Even if I need to hold somebody's hand that's dying, which I was a hospice worker, I've strengthened the heart space of me, which is priceless. The head stuff, I don't think I could do the job that I did 20 years ago. Doesn't matter. I could hug a grandbaby with so much gusto. That's what matters right now.
What do you think it was about your mother's experience in life that made her so abusive?
I believe, this is my theory, because my memoir is resonating with women in my age group, like 50 and up, 60 and up. And I think my mom was born in 1932. My dad was born in 1930. They were both Jewish. I'm Jewish. There was the Holocaust going on where we lost family. Before that, it was pogroms in Russia in the early 1900s. They all were escaping from the old country with very little money. Then the depressions occurring in the early 1930s. I remember my mom was the only child. Her dad worked 2 jobs. In my family, it was hard to they had a lot of kids, hard to make ends meet. I don't think, with my mom was born in 1932, her parents were both working. So she kind of was left home alone. I didn't find this out till before she died, that she used to walk her grandfather home from the bar every day as a little kid because everybody else was working. So I don't know what went on with my mom, but she was very, I would say, borderline personality, cruel. And the cruelness happened. It was like Nurse Ratched on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The cruelness happened when I thought I was the bad kid. When I was alone in the house with my mother, my dad was traveling, my sisters were off at school or whatever, that's when the abuse came out. It was horrific. And when my dad came home, it was like, it doesn't matter what your mom did. You ended up swearing at her, you're grounded. I thought I was the only one getting it. But after our mom died, my sisters and I, this is like, we're all in our 50s, we're all close in age. We were comparing notes and realized each one of us had been abused when we were alone with our mother. And I thought it was only me. Oh, I'm especially bad, especially ugly. So there's been a whole lot of healing going around with my sisters, Our dad died 10 years after mom. I got right with my dad, and he protected us in our own way by taking us to the zoo and the fun house, but he never really stepped in. He was traveling when all the bad stuff would occur with mom. So I got right with my dad about that and saying, Dad, you weren't home, but we were abused. It was awful. We didn't talk about it. So my memoir is writing my story down and then synthesizing it in my body, in my heart. So at the end of the day, I reached wholeness because I saw, I didn't have a filter on about what was happening. I faced it. It was hard. It took a long time. And I'm so happy that especially women, mature women readers are reading it and are kind of going, not necessarily me too, but that was my mom or that was my dad. So there was, I believe, something about that generation where we were kind of coming of age, but we were in between. And look, we all had rotary line phones. We memorized our friends' phone numbers. I don't know a single phone number anymore. It was different. We watched black and white TV. I loved I Love Lucy, and that was even a rerun. It was black and white TV. My dad's typewriter, punch, punch. We took typing in school and home economics. It was so different.
The book is Shattering the Mirror, and we're talking about it with its author, Lena Fein. After your mom's passing, what did healing look like at first to you?
At first, it looked like something feels different in my heart. My mom died. I'm having feelings around it. After my mother died, things in my life started to change because I was seeing them from a different perspective. My husband's an alcoholic. That's too much drinking, and I don't think I could be in this relationship anymore. Not just cut him off, but I started to face things that I wasn't, that I just kind of sweep under the rug and go to work. And I really started to realize that me, the heart of me, the soul of me wanted more. And I can't blame other people. I wasn't opening to it. And that's what changed when my mom died. This gradual, bit by bit, learning how to be in the world with a heart, with a full voice, dancing, allowing myself to tumble, to fall, allowing myself to embrace my curly hair instead of making everything perfect. It was a journey. I'm glad I didn't miss it because I could only honestly say where I'm at, despite the aging and the creaks and all that stuff, is I feel more healthy in my emotional space and more forgiving and more present. All my relationships are better, and that's priceless. That's priceless for me.
Peeling back that onion is excruciatingly painful. How did you find the courage to do it?
I found the courage to leave a job after 30 or 40 years in high tech that paid really well, to uncover those places that I said I couldn't do. I can't have curly hair. And I found out as I stuck with it, it's all about the products. Like when you have curly hair like that, you're not supposed to brush it. It's all about, things like that. Learning to ask, to be available. You don't have to be a ballet dancer. You could do freeform dancing and there's no rules to follow. How about just follow the rhythm? Even if you fall down, it's okay. Things like that, like embracing what my body could do. Many of my memories going away a little bit, but if I'm in my heart, I might forget their name, but I'm remembering their smile. I'm remembering that I looked in their eyes. I'm remembering saying thank you for the cup of coffee instead of saying it's cold or whatever. All that was me learning how to be with myself and to respond in a way that was kind, not fake kind, but just in the moment with somebody else. Maybe they scraped their knee and I'm holding their hand. Just get more situations like that without effort, just being at the bed. I was a hospice worker for a while, like at the bedsides of the dying, knowing I had a gift for that. It was all about me not being afraid of death, holding somebody's hand, even if they were dying, even if they were bleeding, and doing that. And I didn't do that before. I probably would run the other way because I was scared.
Forgiveness is one of the most complicated words in our language. What does that word mean to you now?
Everything. Because forgiveness isn't this, I love the word complicated. It's not this like black and white thing. don't forgive. It's this way of being where even if really somebody's being an ass, of being with that, and sometimes we need to walk away from it, but other times we can go, gosh, what's hurting? Like, what happened? Oh, my dad just died. No, I'm sorry. Can I walk you home? So to have that empathy, but you still need to have boundaries. Some people, I live in San Francisco. Mostly it's like amazing. I walk every day and they know me at this coffee shop and I'm always just right in the moment. But there's the few people on the street that are homeless and addicted. And I've learned I steer clear because sometimes one guy actually reached out and said, 25 cents for the homeless. And I went like this, like, who carries? I don't carry even a quarter anymore. I went like this and he lunged at me and bit my hand like a rabid dog. It's like, okay, so developing the radar of sometimes you can't get too close. Sometimes it isn't that safe. No, I don't walk necessarily at night by myself, but in general, I'd say 99% of the time I feel safe in the world where I'm walking and I'm paying attention. I'm not like asleep. I'm paying attention to what's going on around me, not in a hyper vigilant way, but more in here's a new moment. What's happening here?
How can readers of Shattering the Mirror shatter their own mirrors and address their own trauma? What's your advice?
I definitely heard from a lot of especially women readers of that they couldn't put the book down, and that even though my trauma wasn't necessarily the same as their trauma, they saw a path of healing and were inspired to go, oh, did that. I could do that too, but maybe I have my own signature of doing that. So I really think I wrote my story like I was writing a diary, but what I was really doing was giving a map of my journey of, oh, this is how it looked. The first part of my life, I wasn't seeing clearly. And this is how with healing work, it didn't happen overnight. Counselors, lots of different stuff, somatics. This is how it could look when you stretch, when you quit your job, or when you speak the truth up, or when you're kind instead of being an ass. This is how it could look because I showed my assholeness in the memoir. I made a mess. And I feel like I learned from the messes. It wasn't easy. I wish I could have done it when I was in my 20s. But actually, maybe that level of maturity comes with having jobs and having husbands and having kids and messing up again and not messing up. And that maybe when you're in your 40s, in your 50s, you're going, let me look back on that. Was that serving me? Or why am I bored with whatever it is? I feel like we all have a different recipe, but the soup needs to be stirred and stewed and boiled. And sometimes the pot boils over, but the richer the stew. Let's just keep stirring that soup. And I think women in this particular age group had similar trauma because of the era, that the generation we were raised in, and then so much death coming out of World War II, through the Depression. There was super wealth, right? The fall of the stock market in 1929. So I think this woman in this age group in their 60s or late 50s, their grandparents lost money, or their parents. It was really hard working multiple jobs in the Depression. And in our family, those that were lost in the Holocaust, that were still in my dad's family in Hungary, they were in San Francisco, and they would send money to get somebody over that was willing to come. But a lot of them were like, oh, it's not that bad. And then it was too late. So like in my dad's generation, he was born in 1930. And by 1945, there was like World War II and a Holocaust. I'm finding out that that whole side of the family was gone. It's heartbreaking, but I think that is the type of trauma. Either they were in World War II or somebody in his family died. My dad was not in World War II. He was in the Korean War. But there was just, I don't know, I can't compare it with this time because this time we're in right now is so different don't even know what to make of it. I think we need some mirrors shattered here. Yeah, it's going really fast, the AI, and it's insane. It's hard. So the best I could do instead of cursing it is like in this moment, I could go walk on the street in San Francisco, get my favorite cup of coffee, say hi to the coffee server, have a really good cup of coffee, and it tastes so good. And this morning I ran into my sister and getting the, and so those are moments, but they're real moments. They're not cruel moments. They're like, here we are, and there is kind of chaos going around everywhere, but I'm not going like this. I don't see the chaos, but in this moment, I'm having a cup of coffee and I'm saying hi to my sister who is going through her own cancer journey right now. So things are happening and they're sad, but we can still love.
What question haven't I asked you that you wish that I had?
I loved your introduction, and I love your smile, and I love your curiosity. And I feel like whatever question you asked or however much I talked was what was needed. I'm just trusting it was what was needed here. And you're very available for what is needed here to open that space up, because I don't know, I sometimes go on a riff, but I feel like you took it in. Your smile is great. I could feel your energy. And I'm really happy that whether or not people listen to podcasts or read podcasts or whatever they're doing, I'm really glad that in some way, other than just doom scrolling, that people are getting access to hear real stories so they can go, oh, yeah, I want to go to Italy too, or whatever it is. Even if we are doom scrolling on Facebook, maybe there's a picture that triggers us. Ooh, I'm going to go to that coffee shop. Ooh, look at, they're offering free cookies. I'm going to go there. I don't know. Free cookies is where it's at. And that's what I say.
The website is shatteringthemirror.com. And that's the title of the book, Shattering the Mirror. I highly recommend it. It is a painful, powerful, and life-changing read from our special guest, Lena Fein. Lena, thank you so much for the conversation. This has been wonderful.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard is a copyrighted presentation. All rights reserved. I'm Lisa Davis. Join Terry Shepard next time in Conversation.